Welcome back, everyone, to an episode of Talk Your Abs Off. This might seem like a different kind of episode that we're doing today, and it is. If you remember from my very second episode of this podcast, Kiley Madigan, who is a personal trainer friend who lives up in New York, and we chat probably like once a month, once every other month. When you're an entrepreneur, when you're a small business owner, it's so helpful to have someone in your space who understands exactly, and when I say exactly, I mean exactly what you're going through. So Kiley, welcome back. I'm so happy you're here.
Thank you for having me. This is so fun.
I'm so excited. And if you remember, for those of you who might not have listened, episode 2 that Kiley was on, we talked about dance injury prevention. Kiley specializes in personal training for dancers, along with many other people, and is also a dancer herself, which is so fun. And then we also talked about weight neutrality. So both still very relevant topics. If you want to go back and listen to it, if you haven't listened to it already, you won't miss anything if in this conversation, because we have come so far since we recorded that episode, gosh, probably like a year and a half ago.
Crazy.
Yeah, which was so fun. So I'm so glad that you're back.
I'm so happy to be back. This is so fun.
Yeah, and we kind of just wanted to have this conversation because, like I said, we're both personal trainers. We've been in the industry for probably almost 10 years for both of us, so we have some life and training under our belts, and we've seen what the industry has shifted to and what it's come from and what it looks like now. So you kind of get a little behind the scenes peek as to what personal trainers are talking about instead of what we are just telling you, because those things are very different. That's the motivation that we're giving to people who are listening to what we have to say is very different than what we talk about behind the scenes. So something that Kiley and I talk about a lot is our business goals.
Yeah. Well, and honestly, I was like thinking about it too because I was like, I haven't even started to think about my goals.
Yeah.
And I was like, wait, that's okay. Like, this can be a workshop. Like, I have
Yeah.
things that I want to work on. I was like, I also want Abby's input because
Yeah.
sometimes it's more manageable to get there when you're like talking through it with someone who understands the back end of things. So
Totally.
I think like I have some ideas of things that I want to work on next year, but also like I feel like it's going to be a work in progress, which I'm sure will be a really fun time for you to edit.
I love it. I love it so much.
Make it work.
Well, because how long have you had your business? Remind me.
That's a great question. I technically incorporated in 2019,
Mhm.
but I went fully solo 22, 23.
Okay. So let's say 2019, because I started my business on the back end of a job too, when it was a side hustle and that turned into a full-time thing. So that would be
That's exactly what happened
about
to
6 years
me.
for you then, almost 6 years.
Yeah, I technically celebrated my business turned 6 this past July.
Oh my gosh. Oh wow. That's amazing.
I know. I missed the 5-year anniversary. I was like, why didn't I do anything for it? But it came and went.
Yeah.
So I guess 10 will have to be a blowout party.
Okay, but even like making it to 6 years, because what is it like with business owners? If you make it past, is it like 2 or 3 years? If you can make it past like the 2 or 3 year point, like you're solid. So,
Real.
yeah.
And that's probably close to, I'll probably hit 3 years solo in March. So like, let's not jinx it until then.
Truly though, so my business will be 3 in May, and I'm like in the thick of it. Like this past year, I'm not gonna lie to you, like I've thought, can this be sustainable? Can I keep doing this? The thought of working for someone else makes me want to vomit. So I'm gonna make it work. But it's like, do I need to pick up something on the side? Do I need to, how viable is this? So anyways, just know that once we're both like past this next year, we are probably in the clear. We should have more processes and systems in place to continue well. So yeah, one thing that I'm excited about, it's not a goal. It needed to be done. And you and I have talked about this before. So I hired a lawyer who, and she's so great. She's doing my website. I revamped my whole website. It looks so good. I'm so excited about it. Hasn't brought me any new customers, but it looks great.
But you don't know that it isn't planting the seeds right now.
That's true. And like
people don't just glance at a website and then they're all of a sudden like, great, I'm in. But you don't know that like one of your current clients isn't like, wow, this is really great, and talking to a friend about it and then like eventually passing that website on.
Very true.
Things happen in slow motion.
Yeah. The wording, I'm so happy with the wording now, because it's definitely more like, it's less words, which is better. Less words, more focused on my niche of like neurodivergent, hypermobile, and chronic conditions. And the pictures, I'm using my branding photos that I had someone take for me, which is so fun because now it looks cohesive. The coloring, the branding colors are cohesive. Everything is cohesive. And anyway, so I have this website and I didn't have terms and conditions and a privacy policy. So the lawyer that I hired is helping me with that. And you're going to be so proud of me because I'm having a payment processing system starting in January. So I'm so excited because everything's about to be so much easier for taking payments.
It is so great.
Yeah. What about you? What are you working on?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, that is a big one for me too. Well, okay, if I'm being honest, I think the reason that I haven't thought about my goals for next year is, and you and I have talked about this as a personal thing for me, but like I like over set goals for myself
Mhm.
this year. Not like unachievable goals, like I set 1 million goals. And like, how on earth, when there's 20 different things that I'm trying to accomplish, how on earth am I supposed to focus on any of those? So I've been very hesitant to like, I do want to dig deep. So I don't want to say that I'm hesitant to dig deep, but like, I don't want it to get out of hand. I
Mhm.
want to have a small number of things that I'm really focusing on for next year. And I do think that I do a good job of being gracious with myself if I like don't hit the exact goal, but I'm like, wow, I didn't recognize that I was going to take this path instead of this one. And I'm really happy that I landed here. I think that's great. I'm just like in my head a lot about like, well, how many goals do I want to set? What kind of like, do I want them to be financial? Do I want them to like,
Mhm.
figuring that out. But with that being said, I know that kind of like setting up systems is going to be a really big one for me. I think if I could have gone back in time to 2019 when I started my business, I would have like grabbed my own shoulders and shaken them and been like, it's okay to like train less and have more time to have to like do admin, to put systems in place so that later you can take on more clients. And honestly, if I'm being so real, 2019 me would have not listened to myself because I would have been like, it's this scarcity mindset where you're like, no, I have to take on clients right now. And granted, like I did, girls got to pay rent.
Right.
But
Yeah.
now I'm like, well, I'm at like a pretty good place with my clients, but like I don't have room to like. I wish I had an odd extra couple of hours each week to work on projects to like let my creativity flow, or even just to be like, wow, let's simplify this. And I don't feel like I have that. So I think looking at my schedule, seeing how I can maximize my time without working day and night and weekends,
Mhm. Yep.
is going to be the big overarching theme of the year. And I think some of that will be some automation, like things like that. And I honestly think like maybe the next time a client says like, hey, like I'm good for right now, I'm going to step away, like not immediately filling that slot, being like, what does it look like if I take that hour, that 2 hours, and I put it towards something else?
Yeah. Absolutely. And is that how many goals are you trying to set for next year? Are you
It's the
capping
big
it to
question.
like 3 or 5?
Um, I would like to be so what I did the last 2 years, and for some reason, like 2 years ago, it really worked for me, and I think this year it did not work for me because I was just like overstimulating myself. But what I originally did is I had like five like major goals, and they kind of arched over different products that I offer, different parts of my business, and then underneath that, I had like smaller goals that I thought would help me get there, right? Like if my email list grows, that should help my services, so on and so forth. Because I did like tier one, tier two, and then I had a tier three of like everyday actionable item. I just like, I got so burnt out on like feeling overwhelmed because I wasn't doing them.
Mhm.
Um, that I didn't like that. So I think if I maybe just stick with those big five, at different points, I could always, hey, in Q2, I really feel like I need help with this. I could like take it apart and be like, what do I need to do in the following months? But I think I'm not going to go into the year with like literally 15 goals. 15 is too many.
Yeah. Right. And I think your goals can be flexible, right? So honestly, it's like kind of what we talk about, like even with our clients, like your goals can change and like that's okay. So January of 2025, you and I talked and it was bleak. Like I remember earlier this year, we January is like the time for personal trainers to get all of our new clients because everybody's excited with their New Year's resolutions. And for you and I, it was freaking crickets. And I want to talk about January 2026 and kind of what we think is gonna happen. Because I think, honestly, for both of us, we're already going into the new year with more clients, with people who are already trying to hit their goals. They're not waiting until the new year. So what do you think is gonna happen in January? How do you think that's gonna look for us?
It's right. It's so hard to guess because a year ago I would have been like, January 2025 is going to be amazing. All the clients are going to come out of the woodworks that I've been waiting for. And then it was this weird year where I don't know if like, I think people were nervous about a recession. People, yeah, like didn't know if they should spend money. I know a lot of jobs were like questionable at the time. And I think that those same fears are still present, but I think because it's kind of been a year of that, people are a little more willing to be like, okay, right now I know where I'm at and that could always change. But I don't know, like part of me is like, I think we will see a surge
Mhm.
more like normal years, but I also think that the way that you and I market our niches and our businesses is I don't know that we're attracting people who only chase after their goals in January. I don't know. I do think that January is still a time for anyone. Like I try not to be like too New Year's resolution-y in the way that I don't think like all of a sudden in January I can magically fix something that I couldn't have started in December. But there is something that is very satisfying about a new year and being like, well, what is a small change that I can make? Like what can I really like look forward to this year? So I don't think that it's bad to seek out fitness in the new year, but I don't know that that's all of our clients.
Yeah, and I
That
also
was a
wonder.
roundabout way of not answering.
I loved it. It was great. I also think even just our expectations of it, because I think last year or this past January, of 2025, we were like, yes, like it's the new year. We know people are psyched. Everybody always sets New Year's resolutions. And then everyone just seemed really, really tired and not willing to set a New Year's resolution. On social media, no one was setting New Year's resolutions. People were just like surviving. And I think coming around this year, like my expectations are not like we were. They're not like people that, like you said, people are going to come out of the woodwork. Like people are ready to just jump on with any trainer. But I anticipate that more people will probably set New Year's resolutions this year. They might be smaller, which is a-okay, as they should be. We shouldn't be setting unrealistic expectations. But yeah, I don't know. I guess that it'll change anything for us, but I am anticipating more of it than this past year.
Yeah, and I agree. I think I'm gonna go in with both with different expectations and with like different strategy because I think a year ago I was like kind of just like throwing spaghetti at a wall and seeing what would stick, but then being
Mhm.
like, well, where are all of these people? And I think this year instead I'm going to choose like one product, which is like I think for me right now, I just talked about wanting to have more time in my schedule. So instead of going into January wanting a bunch of new clients, instead I'm going to be like, hey, I already teach this class and I'm really going to advertise that so that
Yeah,
that feels like the entry point. So that maybe if someone is thinking, well, I don't know if I want to be a New Year's resolution person, but like in this new year, I would like to get into a fitness routine instead of just being like, oh, there's a trainer and then not knowing what to do about it. I want to provide a clear path of like, oh, maybe I could try Kylie's class and see what comes of it.
yeah,
And maybe it's not their jam. Maybe they find something else. But I think like laying out a clear pathway rather than just like showing up and expecting that to be enough
totally.
is going to be my aim. If I can make the time for that kind of
Yeah,
marketing and promotional work.
right. I know. You and I both, if we okay, you and I both need marketing help. I went to I joined a networking group, which I'll share with you after because it has changed. Like it's been so great, and basically you
Hmm.
meet with like two other girls in your area. This company like puts you all together, and you go take a walk and like grab coffee, and you just talk, and it's so sweet. Anyways, one of the girls um has a social media manager, and she's like, yeah, I just like film like myself doing stuff, and I film my b-roll, and then she just like puts everything together for me, which I would also like to tell everyone on social media, like what you see is, like it's not everybody's every day. Like whatever people are putting together is someone is putting it together either for them or they're doing it themselves, and it's just none of it's really like, I don't know where I'm going with this. This makes it sound like everything on social media is fake. It kind of is, unless you see like a small creator
Well,
being like, this is my day, and we're literally putting together
but
our
I
entire.
think a lot more than we think.
Yeah.
is curated. Maybe not fake, but like very specifically set up to show highlights or, and like that's even true of like, I try to be really authentic. I try to be really transparent with my audience, but like, if I have a month where my financials were garbage, I'm not like, hey, everyone, just wanted to share. Like, that feels really personal to me. And I think it's okay to keep things to ourselves. What I don't think is okay is when you like trick someone into thinking everything is magically great or like, wow, this is my fitness routine and lying about it to try and get someone to buy your product. Like, I think that's when you're
Mhm.
crossing a line. But I think that if we can all have like very comprehensive skills going into social media and recognize that things are going to be relatively curated, I think it's okay. But we do, it's a good reminder. Anyways, that's a great aside.
I know, I know. Okay, the last thing I wanna talk about are trends for 2026. I love hearing when other people do this, like, guessing what the trends are gonna be,
It's hard.
and
I thought a lot about it, and I really had to fight my brain to not be like super pessimistic. Do you know what I mean?
yeah, I also had to not go online and be like, "What are the trend?" Like, I wanted it to come from my own brain, from what
I did
I'm
a little bit.
seeing. It's fine.
I tried not to just like one, two, three copy. I was just like, what is resonating with me and what I'm seeing in my client population.
Yeah, okay, so let's alternate who goes, and then so we'll talk about yours, and I'll talk about mine, and we'll just go back and forth. So these are trends for 2026 of what we think is gonna happen in the fitness industry. You go first.
My first one is my most pessimistic one, but I just think it's realistic. I think that we're going to see AI
Shut
everywhere. I think
That's
we're going
my
to
first
see
one too.
that's your first one, and yeah, I think like programming created by it. I think we're going to see apps that are run by it, which is scary because I don't like I just really want it to be clear what is and what isn't. That's where I don't like it because like if you're like, oh, I just like need a program and I don't care how good it is, like whatever. But if like you think that you are paying for an app that is like very specifically curated, whether it's for like strength training, a running program, and then it's AI slop,
Yeah.
dare I say,
Yep.
that's where I get freaked out. But I do think that that will continue to trend.
I agree, and I saw a commercial while we were watching football on Thanksgiving, and it was about I think it was ChatGPT or something along those lines, and someone was asking it for a fitness routine, and I sat there with my husband's family, and I was like, "And then someone's gonna get hurt because they're gonna forget to put in that they have some kind of chronic condition, that they have some kind of injury from a car accident back in the day, and then something's gonna happen and they're gonna get injured, and then what?"
Well, or like they're perfectly healthy.
Mhm.
I don't know that AI knows if you like how to properly superset something. Like if you do three back exercises in a row and it tells you like, oh, you should be going for 80% of your one rep max, like that's too much. But like I don't know, like I will type things into Google all the time and it'll be like, I'll just scroll past the AI answer because it will be like nonsense. I'll be like, that's not a sentence.
Right.
So why are we trusting it for fitness programming?
Yeah, I'll give you a quick example. Literally today, when I was teaching one of my classes, so last week was Thanksgiving, and I did like themed Thanksgiving classes because I
Yeah,
love a good themed class, and I
so
know that
cute.
you do too. And so my first boot camp class was called pie. It was called thighs and pies, meaning like turkey thighs and like pumpkin pie, whatever. And so the guy today was like, "Abby, what did pies reference? Was that referencing core? Because it was a legs and a core boot camp." And he was like, "Thighs and pies is pies like core?" I said, "Yeah, it was." And he's like, "Why?" And I was like, "I'm gonna be honest. That's what ChatGPT told me." And I saw another Pinterest program that said it, and then I just took it and ran with it because I'm not gonna be the person who's gonna do a burn the bird or like a some kind of like burning calories workout. We're targeting certain or muscle groups. And so I was like, thighs and pies sounds fun, sounds great. But then he questioned it, and I was like, yeah, that did come from ChatGPT, and I don't know why. I don't know why it's called that, but it needed a good name, and that's what happened. And he was,
Yeah,
oh, okay. And I was like, all right. But there's like a very perfect example of something that doesn't make sense. Thankfully, it didn't make a difference in anybody's workout program, but you know,
it is really interesting. I think that like right, it's just it is a tool that
hmm
we're going to use.
yeah,
Like, and I know so many people who are in like a corporate workforce where it's like this is part of your job now. Understandable, but like using critical thinking. It's like the same thing as what we were talking about with like the way that people market fitness or the way that people show themselves on social media. Like, let's turn our brains back on for a second
Mhm.
and then look at the answers it's giving us and be like, is this reasonable? Or like, right, hire a trainer to look at the program for you. Better yet,
Yeah.
hire a trainer to write a program for you.
Truly, because they're gonna do such a much better job. They have more of a background in education in creating it, and I'm so scared. And what I'm not scared about is AI taking my job. I'm truly not, because the personal piece of it is what keeps us in business. It's the care and
Yeah.
the accountability that we provide that AI cannot. AI can let give you a random workout, but that's the thing. It's a random workout. It doesn't have progression. It doesn't have a goal. You're not going to get what you need to maybe be successful. Yeah, it's a great starting point if you're looking for a place to start, but it's not going to carry you once you get past beginner into intermediate and advanced, and you need something more. So,
I would even argue that then we're back to like, I would rather you go take a class from someone on YouTube for free or go download someone's like beginner 4 week workout
mhm.
program. Like I would prefer you do that where like a human brain thought it through and planned progressions for you, because either way, whether you do it through this AI programming or you do it through like some freebie that you found somewhere, it will be a starting point and then you will hit a point where you need someone or another program to help you come out of that plateau. And so like if you can start either way, like might as well go give a real person like a YouTube view,
Yep,
in my
exactly.
opinion.
Yeah,
But
100%.
I mean, I think that people just will use AI. I don't think there's like dissuading anyone from it. I just think that the very least we can do is like we can think critically
We can
while
think.
using it.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. Well, I'm glad that you and I both had AI at the top of our list for
That's
a
so funny.
2026 trend. Literally, the first thing I was like, AI, not even a question.
Exactly.
All right. Well, my next one is, since we both had AI, so my next one on my list is group classes, group training. I think that because it's more financially accessible, because usually for classes it's cheaper than hiring a personal trainer. So taking a look at like where the economy is right now and where people are at, I think group training makes sense financially. I also think that it's a good way to still get eyes from a professional on you without having to do one-on-one personal training. And I think that's valid. I think a lot of people thrive in that community aspect as well. It's like accountability, and being surrounded by a bunch of people that you really like and have the same goals as you, I think is really solid. And I don't think that we're going to see a decline. In fact, I think we're going to see even more people signing up for group training and group classes places.
And I don't know about you. I feel like since the pandemic, since we've kind of come back to being able to do some in person and then a lot of in person, I have only seen the demand for in person group fitness climb since then. I have not yet seen it plateau, which is exciting, I think. I think that that's such a fun way also to build community. If you
Totally.
have a local gym or a local place where you can pop in and take a class, I wish I would have done more of that when I moved to New York, because I was like, how do I make adult friends? And I was just talking to someone yesterday at one of the gyms that I work at, someone who takes my classes, and I was like, what would you think if I like we did a monthly happy hour,
Yeah.
um, or like an outing, whatever that might be? Um, and they were like, yeah, it seems like a great group of people, and I was like, well, maybe we should all be friends.
Yeah.
It's so silly. We meet every week for the same hour. Let's go do something together. Let's become. And I make them do partner work all the time. Like I agree. I that
Force
wasn't on my
friendship.
list, but I think that that's really lovely, and that
Yeah.
makes me very. That's a trend that makes me feel very happy.
Yeah, I think so too. Yeah. What do you think? What do you think is another one?
The one that I had down for the second one on my list, I think that like a discussion around recovery is going to
Mm.
continue to grow. I think especially sleep. I think we're in this age of fitness trackers. We want data. Like I feel like the people are like myself included. It's fun to have numbers to look at. It's fun to have trends of, oh, I'm trending up on my steps. I'm trending down on this. And I think that that's really good. I think that talking about recovery is really important. And see, this is why I was like, why am I such a pessimist? But I think the caveat is I don't want this like age of fitness trackers to signify that we are losing the ability to like check in with our body without it. Like,
Yeah.
if you take that fitness tracker off for a week, can you feel if you're getting enough sleep, can you tell if you've moved your body? And like, I
Mhm.
think that also being in tune with how you feel is really important because, like, whether or not I take 5,000 or 10,000 steps is one thing versus like I have a different energy level every day. Sometimes I'm like, I really need to rest today. And sometimes I'm like, oh man, I have to go out for a walk. I'm feeling so antsy. Um, so I think that it's really good to talk about data and recovery and sleep. But I think that those things are important.
I agree with you. I think when you say recovery, things that come to mind outside of sleep are cold plunges, red light therapy, saunas. Um,
I didn't mean to frown like that. Those are good things.
yeah,
Those
well,
are good things, but they're not
well,
everything.
right, and they're also not for everybody. Like, it's the
Me, I'm an anti cold plunger. You could
oh,
not,
same.
you would have to pay me
Although
so much money.
guess what? I think I'm gonna do my first cold plunge this week because the place where I teach classes just got one, and I said I will do anything once, especially considering I put
Yeah,
out a podcast episode, disagreeing with cold plunges. I was like, "Let me at least do it once." Really hoping it doesn't, like, plunge me into a panic attack, but it's fine. We'll see, we'll see.
I think I'm not anti cold plunge. I think I'm anti thinking that a cold plunge is magically going to solve all of your
It's gonna
problems.
fix everything,
Like
right.
if you're
Well
not getting enough sleep, if you're not eating enough, if you're like not taking care of yourself in the staple ways,
mhm,
like going and getting cupping done isn't going to fix what you're lacking in sleep. It
totally.
might help, but it's going to be a much smaller
Yeah.
move forward with the needle.
Right. I think where I tend to roll my eyes is like the biohackers who think that by doing
All you had to say was biohackers. You could have stopped the sentence right there.
okay, and I know there's no biohackers listening because that is not the kind of people that I attract on this podcast.
No, we've lost them.
Oh darn. Anyways, yeah, if the people who think that they can hack their body into some kind of healing and, things like that by doing all of these things that did not exist. Now, okay, I'll give you cold water existed way back in the day. Totally fine. But when we're talking about saunas, red light therapy, all these things that people did not have back, even if we think about like in the cavemen who were eating meats and vegetables and all the healthy things and moving their bodies and lifting heavy things, they didn't have all these extra things. So um, come at me with whatever science you want to tell me that it is proven that it's going to do some things. But anyways, I don't even know how to wrap that up.
No,
But when you said
no,
recovery,
and
that's what it made me think of.
well, and on the same note, if those things make you feel good,
Mhm.
fabulous.
Yeah,
But just don't expect them to be a cure all.
right. It's not the
I
end all
think
be
it's
all.
great when people find like foam rolling feels great to me.
Yeah. Oh,
And I do think
absolutely.
that it releases muscle tension, but it's
Yeah.
not going to magically fix my recovery.
Totally. Yeah, it's a lot of things over time and, maybe you can make that judgment but with all these other things, this cold plunge heat therapy, all this stuff, little things over time, fine, maybe, I don't know. But anyways, if we're looking at recovery and we're looking at it from a rest perspective, I would be all for that. I would hope, especially in this like hustle culture of like always trying to do something and which actually brings me to the next, it kind of ties into my next trend that I'm thinking of, which
Do we
is
have the same one again?
mine's running.
No, we don't have the same one, but I
Okay.
do feel like mine involves hustle culture. So you go first.
Okay, great. Well, so I say running. Well, actually, that was my last one, but I'll switch them here. So running, I put on there because again, low financial requirement, right? Anybody can run, which I think is great. I think everyone, if you can run, should run or at least walk, right? Because I think it's so great. But
Hmm.
and maybe it's my algorithm because I run or have run, and that's the kind of content that I like to see. But I mean, anything from a 5K to an ultra marathon is what I'm seeing. And so I think running, and I'm just going to tie in my last one because it's kind of related. So when we get into like the marathons and up, I've ran a marathon. It was very difficult. But when we get past a marathon and we're doing like ultras and like all these really hard things, I'm going to tie in what another trend I think will continue to be next year is CrossFit games and high roxes
Hmm.
and things of the
Hmm.
like these very challenging event based like workouts that are very hard and very difficult where people are pushing their bodies to the limits. Yeah, I don't know. That's I'm here for the running trend. I'm not here for pushing yourself to the brink of like pain and hurting yourself and potentially. Now there are people who do CrossFit and high roxes who are in very great shape and this is what they love to do. I don't know. This is just what's bouncing around in my brain.
No, I have mixed feelings on it too because I think being someone who like I grew up doing competitive dance. And so there is kind of and I think so many people grow up doing something athletic and then
Mhm.
they get to adulthood and they're lacking that like what am I chasing after?
Totally.
And it feels so good to accomplish a thing, not just be like don't get me wrong, I'm a kettlebell instructor and it feels really great to go and be like, "Oh, I did just bump up like my snatch." Great. It's a whole different kind of high to like cross that finish line to do something that like only very elite athletes can do. That gives you that same kind of high that I think maybe a lot of people miss from when they were younger, or I don't know, maybe they didn't experience that and now they're just experiencing it in adulthood. And I think that can be very positive. I also think in a world where social media is like all encompassing, like you're scrolling through, right? And you're seeing these ultra marathons. Like, I didn't know 10 years ago that ultra marathons existed. And now I do. And just because I saw it online doesn't mean that I have to do one or should feel obligated or should think, well, that's the only type of athlete that's XYZ. Like, it's also okay to just be someone who goes to the gym 3 times a week. But I think that social media creates this like FOMO where it's like, oh my God, well, I have to push. And it's like, no, actually, if you're going to push your body to like the brink of exhaustion and like try and hit PRs all the time, you have to dedicate so much of your life to that. And I don't think that that's for everyone, right? Like Olympic athletes, things like that, like they have specific resources to accommodate that.
Yeah.
And if you're working a
Especially
9 to 5 job where you're sitting at a desk, you probably like you might have access to some of those resources, but you're also working a sedentary job. That's limiting you.
yeah, and
Um,
you also need to make sure that you're because what you aren't seeing is how often they're fueling their body, how often they're eating, what they're not eating, the limits that they do have to put on themselves in order to stay in the kind of shape that they are. And I like what you said about because I ran competitively in high school and growing up, and honestly, if I'm at this point in my life, in my 30s, if I'm gonna run, it better have a finish line and a medal or some kind of prize at the end. Otherwise, it's gonna be very hard for me to get up off the couch because
Right,
I
and
don't
it's
enjoy it.
fun, and it creates a community environment where you're like accomplishing a thing together. I think it's great, but I think that sometimes people lose, myself included, lose the ability to like find nuance. Like when my husband signed up for a marathon, I was like, "Am I gonna have FOMO? Like he's gonna accomplish an athletic thing, and I consider myself to be athletic. Like, am I gonna be okay?" And you know what? I had so much fun cheering. I do not think a
Oh,
marathon is for me. I will jog every once in a while for my health. I'm gonna be running races. That I was watching him and I was like, I'm stressed. That doesn't need to be me, and that's okay.
yeah, right. And it's not for everybody. Everybody's thing is different, and that's why I think running and walking as a potential future 2026 trend as continuing is great. Doing what you can, and again, at a very low cost. Maybe you invest in a good pair of running shoes, and maybe
Hmm.
you are using a weighted vest to walk. I don't know, whatever you want to do for that. But then once going back to that hustle culture, once we cross over into all these other things. I don't know. It could get like totally props to the people who are doing it. And if that's one of your goals, absolutely more power to you as long as you're working with someone or that you're doing the proper training because it really comes down to proper training. I will tell you a story. And I know there are some people who listen who are going to hate this. David Goggins irks me to no end because of how much he pushes himself to a point where he literally got rhabdomyolysis, which rhabdomyolysis is failure in the kidneys.
I'm Googling this person right now because I think I've curated my feed in such a way that like I don't know about a lot of people that I think
Yeah, okay.
would
So
trigger
it's
me.
when you damage your muscle tissue so bad that it leads to kidney failure. And so basically what happened, something of his that I saw was that he did, I don't know, he did must have been like 50 or 100 miles around like a racetrack. This like video that I had seen of him. And basically one of the symptoms is that you start to like pee blood. And he's getting rhabdo. Like you can see that he's getting rhabdomyolysis is called rhabdo for short. And he continues to push his body when it's literally failing. And to some people, that is incredibly inspiring. To me, that's incredibly scary because I would never want to see that happen to anybody. And there's been a news story about like a coach who did it to some. I want to say it was like it was a he was an a old like Navy SEAL or something, and he did it to some like lacrosse kids and made them do all these things that sent some of them to the hospital with rhabdomyolysis because he was overworking them so much their bodies weren't ready for it. And so that's like where my brain goes when someone wants to train for something and is ill prepared. And that's my only concern when it comes to these things. Now, if you are doing CrossFit, if you are training hard and you've been working yourself up to these points, absolutely more power to you. More than likely, you will be just fine. But for someone who's sitting on their couch looking and saying, "Oh, that's something that I want to do an ultra marathon, or I want to do an ultra marathon," and then just doesn't train properly, like that's where I start to get really scared.
And I think that there are resources and accounts to follow. I don't know a lot of them, but I have seen people who are out there advocating for like safe ways to push yourself to do hard things where they're
Mhm.
like, if you're going to run 100 miles, do you know how many calories you got to eat? Like, I've seen these people like running through trails and they're like crushing Rice Krispies. And I'm like,
Yeah.
that's pretty cool. Like,
Yeah.
it's not going to be me. That's not for me. But I do think that, yeah, people. I think we need to seek out safe routes,
Mhm.
and like I think it's great to be inspired by other people who are doing it, but then remind ourselves like we all have different bodies, we all have different limits, and then like trust that our pathway might not look exactly like someone else's.
Right. And I want to give credit to David Goggins for he's incredibly motivating to a lot of people, but what
Well,
he's
and that
doing,
just sounds like an incredible feat. But I think sometimes when you're in the spotlight,
yeah. Right. But and
it's
it should not be replicated by the general public, I guess. Like
yeah.
yeah. And I'm sure he trained to
No,
do
I
that.
understand what you're saying.
Yeah. Anyways, I just know I'm gonna ruffle some feathers, but it's my own podcast and I get to say what I want.
I think that that's a reasonable thing to be able to disagree on.
Right. Yeah, I think so. I haven't talked about him in a while. Like yeah, that has always like he also reminds me of a he also reminds me of an Andrew Tate, which pisses me off even more.
Do you listen to the maintenance phase?
Sometimes.
Okay, did you listen to the sunflower seed episode?
I think I did.
My
Yeah, I
God,
did.
when they were like the worst person you know makes a really great point, and it was like your biggest enemy is a sunflower. I was like walking down the street cackling like a maniac. I was like, this is the funniest episode I've ever listened to. All the time when like if Luke does something and I like want to like I will say that I'll be like, your biggest enemy is a sunflower. Like that's the funniest tweet.
Also really
Or it
funny
was the
about
seed
that.
oils episode.
Yes, I did listen to that one. And also really funny, I was watching I'm gonna do a podcast episode on it at a later time. It's coming down the road, so everybody be prepared. But I watched the Biggest Loser documentary on Netflix and
I really, really want to watch.
the girl
Aubrey,
yeah, I all of a sudden I was watching and I've never seen her. I've only heard her voice and I was like, "Huh." I was
you're
like,
like,
"That
why does this
sounds
sound like a friend?
this is resonating." And then I was like, "Wrote a book. I've heard that book before." And I was like, "Oh my god." And I was like googling. I was like, "Does she have a podcast?" And she sure does. And it was maintenance phase. So, mhm.
Wait, I think I follow her on Instagram, so I saw that she like posted
Okay.
about. So I knew that before, and I still need to watch it. Like multiple people have been like, it's a
It's
hard watch, but it's
it's good.
worthwhile.
You have to. And yeah, I
Yeah,
plan to do an episode about it because it brought up some feelings and I was like, we got to talk. I know I'm late to the party on this, but anyways, when it comes out, I'll
I think it's always worth talking about.
totally. All right, so we were talking about hustle culture. I'm done with my last ones here. What is your third?
My last one, and I was like, how do I even like word this in the way that I'm thinking? But I think like the hybridization of everything, like wellness and fitness. Like, and I think in some ways this has already been done, right? Like you can go take like a conditioning class where you get cardio and strength. But I just feel like all the time I'm seeing as many things combined as possible, which I don't think is bad. I think like a conditioning class where you can get the most bang for your buck is great. But then I'll see things like, and probably someone out there is gonna be like, I can defend this, but like I don't understand like hot Pilates.
Mhm.
Question is why? Not everything has to be two things. We
Mhm.
don't have to be our most efficient version of ourselves all the time. See, and I'm getting into the pessimistic side without even saying like what the trend, but I think in the next year we will see things where like we're combining two elements like fusion classes, what like or like wellness being thrown into the mix to try and make things more efficient.
More efficient and also more marketable too, I think. If
Hmm.
people yeah, like you said, if people can get the most bang for their buck. And I will say another thing kind of on that note, so Kylie and I are both certified through the American College of Sports Medicine, and every year they do a trend report. Have you looked at the one from this past year?
Mm-mm.
It comes out early
No.
in the year for like I think their projections. And we actually as professionals have the opportunity to vote on it for what we think are going to be like the top things for the year. And it's what's really great to see. And this is different kind of than what Kylie's talking about, but it literally will say like one of the topics is strength training. How strong or weak do you think that strength training is going to be in the trends in fitness over the next year? Pilates, group classes. So like everything is separated, right? Whereas Kylie, like what you're saying is we're putting everything together and trying to mash it all to and to your point, things should be separated. Like again, a good conditioning class, I teach a cardio strength boot camp that gets the best of both worlds, right? There's a place for that if that's what you're looking for. But if you're strength training, you should be strength training, right? You should be doing weights, heavy weights, and not we're not
Resting and
right.
then doing heavy
Adequate.
weights again. And honestly, I would argue that in group fitness, it is hard to do true strength training.
Totally. Because nobody wants to rest because rest feels like you're wasting time in a class that
It's
you're
a
paying
good,
for.
it's a great entry point.
Totally.
Or like, and granted, like I love taking a group fitness class, but it like if you want to see significant strength gains, I think it is worthwhile to do it outside of a class setting as well.
Mhm. I
But
think
sorry, back to your point.
no, 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 you're totally fine. And to your point, I think strength training in a class setting gives you really good muscular endurance because truly that's kind of what you're working with the amount of time that you're resting. Unless you're teaching a barbell class where maybe there is adequate rest or maybe you're training different muscle groups during that time. I can see how that could happen, but at least the place I teach, and I'm sure where you teach, there aren't barbell classes where
Mm-mm.
you're getting adequate rest time if you're going to be lifting heavy. Like same for like CrossFit, right? CrossFit's lifting very heavy, but also with maybe not a lot of rest time. So we get again kind of back into that muscular endurance. But you also see CrossFitters with very big muscles. So like there is something to it. Yeah, I don't know. I agree. I agree that there will continue to be more of that like hybridization, kind of like you said, because people in the life that we live now there is such a lack of time. People don't feel like they have time. And so if you can get everything into one class, like that's what they're going to go for.
Yeah, and I don't blame them. I wish that there was a way that we all had more time, right? Like I've spent half of my time here today complaining about how I don't have enough time. But like to take the time to slow down and really be like, what does strength training feel like in my body? What does a walk or a jog or some kind of cardio, whatever your cardio is of choice, feel like in my body? And then separately, like what does stretching feel like? What does taking a moment and meditating feel like? Those are all different things. And if we try to squish them all into 45 minutes, which like sometimes that's how it is. That's how I feel this week. I'm like, if I have 2 hours over the whole week to do my fitness, I'm gonna do what I can do. That might be running a mile after my strength workout. But on the weeks that we have more time, like, can we separate those things out? What do they feel like on their own in our
Yeah,
bodies?
absolutely. Absolutely. My not my most recent podcast episode, the one I talked about Parkinson's law, which was like you fill the amount of time that you have with what you can and you basically make it happen. So if you have 15 minutes, you can fill that 15 minutes with if you're going to do a workout or something like that. If you have an hour, you'll fill that whole hour. So, even if you have that short amount of time, maybe one day you're focusing on just strength. Maybe the next day you're focusing on just cardio, and maybe one day you're focusing on just stretching. Or if you're doing your cardio and can fit some stretching in at the end, whatever you got to do.
Hmm.
But I think that's yeah, that's such a hard thing. I mean, I even think granted in college we had way less worries and cares and I had so much more time to put into working out and it was great. And now at our big age, it's hard to
And it's crazy to me because I'll feel so rushed. And I'm like, I live my life in gyms. I like the barrier to entry is already so much lower. And so I feel for people. Like, don't get me wrong. I'm not blaming anyone for
Yeah.
wanting to make things as efficient as possible. I think I keep doing this, but I'm like, I think where we need to have nuance. But I think where it becomes trickier is when we're using it solely for marketing purposes. Like that's where I'm like, stop it, fitness industry. Like just let people have things.
Yeah,
And like if their thing is like a boot camp that's strength and cardio, great. But like not everything has to be like peak marketable.
right. Yeah, I agree to that.
I think those are all going to happen.
Yeah, yo, I think so too, and I wonder if we'll see. I'm curious now. We'll have to do a follow-up at the end of the year and see if we were right.
Like
Also,
a mini episode
yeah, well, I don't think anything that
reacting
you and
to
I
our
put
own.
together will ever be mini because we can yap. So,
It's true. We are certified yappers.
yappers. Um, so yeah, so I again, yeah, I it's funny because I felt the same way you did as I was making this list. I was like, "Ugh, we're going to see more of this. Ugh, we're going to see more of that." But like these are all well, with the exception of AI to an extent. As long as people are moving their bodies and doing it in a safe way, all of these things can be really good. And it'll be interesting to see. I almost put Pilates on the list, but I was like, I think Pilates was a this year thing. I think it'll continue, but I don't know if we'll see it as much as we did this year.
Yeah, well, and it's also interesting, like regionally,
Mhm.
because living in New York, I feel like Pilates has been
Mm,
hype for a while because at least a lot of the people that I know are like super into Pilates.
yeah.
So I don't know if that was my personal circle or if that was like New York, and then it like, and I think, I mean, of course, Pilates has been around and people have been doing it, but I like for me in this last year, it didn't feel like it got bigger.
Mhm.
Maybe it got louder.
Yeah, I would say so, and I think social media plays a role in that as well, so, yeah. Well, I think we have, yeah, thoroughly covered everything. Ah, so we're ready for the new year.
Ready is a strong word. I feel like I have like 3 weeks of chaos and then I will get to rest for 10 days.
Mm, yeah. Well, we have been so lucky to have this conversation, and thank you so much for joining us on this fun New Year's Talk Your Abs Off episode. I hope that you have a wonderful start to the new year. And if you have any questions about your fitness plan for the year, or even if you want to tell us about your New Year's resolutions, we would love to hear them. And Kylie, if anyone wants to find you on social media, where can they find you?
My username is at Kiley Madigan. Kiley is spelled Kiley. But Abby will probably tag me on her social media as well, so you'll be able to find me. But I would love to connect with you there.
I love it. And you can always find me at Coach Abby Clapper on Instagram, Facebook, anywhere else that you get your socials. And Happy New
Happy
Year.
New Year.
Happy New Year.